Chapter 4, A Day No Pigs Would Die. And just so anybody who's listening, if there's any words that I'm reading, maybe pause the video if it's words that you don't know and write down your thoughts about them. Here we go. Pinky sure got to be my pig in a heck of a hurry. Papa and I had to finish our job that we started that Saturday morning, which was to reset the east fence. So after our neighbor, Mr. Tanner, took his leave, we worked for a piece. All the time I was working, Pinky was smelling around near my heels, keeping her little pink nose to the ground as all pigs do. It was hard to get any work done the way Pinky was rubbing against my boots, just like a cat. And when we quit at church bell for the noon meal, she followed us all the way across the east meadow to the house. I was going to bring her into the house, but Mama put her foot down on that idea. Before we ate, I mixed a bowl of milk and meal for Pinky to eat. It was real soppy and mostly milk. I didn't think she was going to take it at first, but after I dipped my finger in it and let her suck away on that, she went for the bowl. I made sure that the bowl I used was the cracked one, or I got skinned. Both Mama and Aunt Carrie confessed that Pinky was just about the prettiest pig they ever saw. Pinky's a fitting name, said Mama. Never heard of naming a pig, Aunt Carrie said. But Solomon has a name, I said, and so do Daisy. Let's eat, Papa said, before we have to name every weed on the place. After a meal, Papa headed out toward the barn with Pinky and me trailing along behind. He walked round the barn a yoke of times and come to a final rest on the south side of it. He put his foot on a stump, elbow to his knee, and looked real hard at our old corn crutch. What you got in mind to, Papa? Rob, that there crib would make a good house for your pig. 'Cept it's a mite too close to the cow barn. Close, it's touching it, but on. Lucky it's on skids. We can drag her. Papa, we can't drag that. We only got one ox. Solomon can do it if we help. We're going to yoke us up next to Solomon? No, Solomon don't need muscle help. What we're going to give him, boy, is some extra thinking. We're going to let Solomon use a capstan, just a great big crank. Like you use at Maddie's to wind up the well water? Like that. Go get Solomon and mind his hooves. I was bringing Solomon over to the barn, leading him with just my hand on his horn and taking 2 steps to his 1. Then I went round to the tack room to get his yoke and stays. The yoke was solid hickory, and it weighed near as much as me. I had to lug it round back in 2 trips, going back the second time for the oxbow and cotter. Papa showed up with 2 long poles, a chain, and a digger. With the post-hole digger, which looked to me like a big corkscrew, he twisted a hole into the ground using the meadow a ways from the corn crutch. Using a pebble on a horsehair string, he dropped it deep in the hole and let it hung to see if the hole was plumb to the earth. Then deep into the hole, he sunk out one of the stout poles, so stout it was nigh to be a log. Papa said the post was about 3 hands around. This was the capstan's axle. Next came the tongue, and this log would be the crank handle. Papa fit the handle pole into a hole, just up from ground flush, in the axle. That do it, Papa? That do her, Solomon. Ready? I need help, Papa. I can't put that yoke up on his shoulders by myself. How much it weigh? Oh, maybe 6 stone. That's as much as I weigh. Almost. Solomon was yoked and coupled to the capstan crank. We were ready. So, said Papa, you don't guess 1 ox can pull that crib? No, I said, it's too blundersome. Not even Mr. Tanner's Bay Belgium team could move it if you want my study of it. Papa clucked to Solomon, and he leaned into the yoke. The crank began to turn. Around and around, Solomon walked in a circle, and the chain drawed up real snug. When it was tight, it snapped up off the ground, but old Solomon never stopped walking. After just once around, Papa made a trench for the chain, so Solomon wouldn't have to step over it with every circle. The big ox needed no prodding. He walked the circle on his own, and the crib inched toward the axle post. Look, Papa, Solomon does it alone. He does for sure. Solomon told me he don't want no pig having sleeping quarters near his. He says he abides in Shaker law. Papa, do you believe all the Shaker law? Most. I'm glad it's all written down in the book of Shaker. How do you know it's all written down, Papa? You can't read. Papa looked at me before he spoke. No, I cannot read, but our law has been read to me, and because I could not read, I knew to listen with a full heart. It might be the last and only time I'd learn its meaning. I don't cotton to all those Shaker laws, especially one. Which one? The one that says we can't go to the baseball game on Sunday. Jacob Henry and his father always go. Why can't we? Rob, the book of Shaker forbids frills on any day, and that goes double on Sunday. But we wouldn't be playing baseball, just watching, and I want to see the Grimobbies play. What's a Grimobie? It's short for Green Mountain Boy. It got something to do with somebody else called Ethan Allen. I guess he was once the captain or the shortstop. I don't understand one breath of it, said Papa. I do. Our school library has this book on the history of baseball. There was a lot in it about Abner Doubleday, but it sure was skimpy on Ethan Allen. I wouldn't know one of them baseballers from the other. Well, I said, if you put any stock in this book I read, it sure leads a body to believe that Ethan Allen wasn't anyone at all, and that Abner Doubleday did everything there was to be did. But that's where I went sour on the history test that Miss Malcolm gave us. You told your ma and me you got the highest on that test. Were you falsing a witness, Rob? No, sir, I did get the highest mark. I got a 99. There was 100 questions, and I only missed one. It was something about the Vermonter played a key part in our history. The answer was somebody else. But since I read that book, I just put down the name of Abner Doubleday instead of Ethan Allen. That's right, Pa. How'd you know? Just a guess. Well, I took a guess too, and it sure was wrong. When Miss Malcolm handed the papers back, she was laughing. At what? At me and Abner Doubleday. Oh. Solomon kept walking his circle, pulling the old corn crutch closer to the capstan post with every turn. The post was now fat with the twines of black chain. The old ox sure could pull a plenty. He wound up that big chain just like you'd wind up a kite string around a spool. Papa, it sure is mirthful that somebody who knows history like Miss Malcolm knows it has never heard of a great man like Abner Doubleday. She even asked me who he was. I suppose you thought it'd be your calling to tell her. Sure did, but one thing's certain, of the two men, Miss Malcolm tends to favor Ethan Allen. Which one do you like, Papa? Can't say honest that I take to either one. Miss Malcolm sure does. She says that seeing we live in a free country like Vermont, we all better be proud as pie over Ethan Allen and his Green Mountain Boys. That's his baseball team. The pursuit of history sure has a foggy sound to it, said Papa, watching the chain thicken around the capstan post. Makes no sense to me. Well, it all makes clear to me, except that part about Ethan and his baseball team. They won at Ticonderoga. I know of that. So does Miss Malcolm. I was getting poked in the back by Will Stoddard, so I didn't rightly get the straight of it. But I do recall this much. In the middle of the night, old Ethan took his team cross lake to Ticonderoga, and they stayed the night in a fort. Thanks be praised, all the history I needs in our family Bible tucked away under the bed in the Bible box and in the book of Shaker. I guess it's history that causes to move this here crutch for Pinky, Papa? It's reason. A long time ago, somebody broke the Shaker law and put up a cow and a pig together, and they had one whopping fight. Maybe so, said Papa. I wonder who won. A boar's got a blessed mean mouth. I question who'd win if Ethan Allen met up with Abner Doubleday. I can conjure who Malcolm would root for. Ethan Allen? That's for certain. She says that 'cause we're all Vermonters, we have to be proud of our yesterday, just like today. What's that mean? I think it means to be proud to live in Vermont and proud of Ethan Allen, as well as the other fellow she talks on, the one who lives in a white house. Lots of folks in learning live in a white house. I think Miss Malcolm means Calvin Coolidge. We have to pride him too. Say we do. He's our president. Miss Malcolm said she voted for Calvin Coolidge, which is why he's a president. She says that every working soul in Vermont voted for him. Not all. Did you vote for Calvin Coolidge, Papa? No. Aren't you a Republican? Just about everybody in this whole town of learning. No, I'm not a Republican and I'm not a Democrat. I'm not nothing. Why not? Because I'm not allowed to vote. Me either. You have to be 21 to vote. I'm only 12. Reckon I'm soon looking at 60. Then why can't you vote? Is it because you're a shaker? No, it's account of I can't read or write. When a man cannot do those things, people think his head is weak, even when he's proved his back is strong. Who decides? Men who look at me and do not take me for what I be. Men who only see me make my mark, my X, when I can't sign my name. They can't see how I trew a beam to build our barn, or see that the rows of corn in my field are straight as fences. They just see me walk the street in learning in clothes made me by my own woman. They do not care that my coat is sturdy and keeps me warm. They'll not care that I owe no debt and that I'm beholding to no man. Is that why you can't vote, Papa? Yes, boy, that's the reason. Doesn't it make you heartsick? No, I take what I am. We are plain people, your mother and aunt and your sisters, you and me. We live the book of Shaker. We are not worldly people, and we suffer the less for not painting with worldly wants and wishes. I am not heartsick because I am rich and they are poor. We're not rich, Papa. We're... Yes, we are, boy. We have one another to fend to and this land to tend, and one day we'll own it outright. We have Solomon here to wind up a capstan and help us haul our burdens. And look here, he's almost done pulling that crutch where we want it to be pulled. We have Daisy's hot milk. We got rain to wash up with to get the grime off us. We can look at sundown and see it all so that it wets the eye and hastens the heart. We hear all the music that's in the wind, so much music that it itches my foot to start tapping, just like a fiddle. Maybe so, Papa, but it seems to me what we have most is dirt and work. True enough, but it be our dirt, Rob. This land will be ours in a few more years. As to the work, what matters is that we have the back to do it. Some days I get the notion that I can't knife even one more of Clay Slander's pigs. Yeah, I always do, 'cause it's got to be done. It's my mission. Papa, is that mission they preach on at meeting? It is. And every man must face his own mission. Mine is pigs, and I'd be thankful to be in the picture. What picture? The picture of Vermont, boy. Do you know what makes Vermont a good state? No. It's simple as beans. Here in the state, we know just two things. We can turn grass into milk and corn into hogs. I guess that's as true as taproot. Truer. Walking a circle, Solomon snorted, as if to say he blessed the whole business. They sure is a passel of corn and meadowland in these parts, I said. If and we turn all this and all that to milk and hogs, blessed if we'd ever keep up with it, or just keep it in sight. Probably wouldn't, but we all dreamers like you. Now, old Solomon's a dreamer too, but yet he walks his circle, and just look how he's drug that corn crutch. Plenty far. I couldn't believe it. Just while Papa and me were talking, Solomon drug that old corn crib into place and moved it in a ways that was as twice as long as Papa was tall. And then Papa added some fresh cut timbers to winter tight the crutch for Pinky. Papa? Yep. You're using fresh wood. Yep. Don't it got to season before you build with it? Indoors, yes, but you can wood up a wall to stand outdoors, and fresh wood will season itself. With a hand turn, Papa sunk holes into the fresh planks at both ends and into the old wood beyond. In each hole he used a mallet to pound in a trunnel peg of white oak that he had soaked in linseed oil, and the sty was done. Pinky slept in her first night with us. So did I, because that way I figured she'd be lonesome in a new place and away from her big old fat ma. So together we nestled down in all the clean straw under what was left of Mr. Tanner's old horse blanket. With Pinky next to me that night, I guess I must have been the luckiest boy in learning.